Roller Coaster Tycoon 2 Triple Thrill Pack is a classic. Not quite as well played as the original from 1999, but Roller Coaster Tycoon 2, if anything, is just as beloved, if not more beloved, due to the new stuff added, and of course the addition of the hard-working fans who made Open RCT2, which at this point you should just assume you're going to install it to just play the game. Roller Coaster Tycoon 2 was developed by Chris Sawyer Productions and released in 2002.
The year was 1999. This was the year we received Tony Hawk's Pro Skater and the first Medal of Honor on the PlayStation. And in Japan, they got Pokemon Gold and Silver version on the Game Boy. Final Fantasy VII came out on the PlayStation.
You know, while I'm trying to look up stuff in 1999, it really looks like Sony had a good year and everyone else had to wait. I guess we were all kind of busy worrying that the world was going to end at the end of the year. Good old Y2K, huh? Good thing we don't do that anymore, am I right? Anyway, 1999 is also the year the Roller Coaster Tycoon series started. You see, there was this Scottish programmer named Chris Sawyer, who got together with real-life roller coaster and theme park people and created one of the most successful video game genres. I'm not sure how grand and sweeping I can make that statement, because I'm sure someone made something before he did, and someone out there will let me know about it. But to me, and the video games I've played, the Tycoon games started with Roller Coaster Tycoon in 1999. But that's only where our story begins. I did some digging and got curious as I looked up Roller Coaster Tycoon 1, 2, 3, World, and Planet Coaster. I'm working a little ahead here, but what I'm understanding is Frontier Developments took over the franchise on the third game. Then Roller Coaster Tycoon World was developed by Nvisio Creations, while Planet Coaster was developed by Frontier Developments. Tycoon World was released the day before Planet Coaster got released, and Planet Coaster was superior in nearly every way. Talk about a gut punch for the developers. Anyway, I've been busy at work looking at video games. What have you been up to? Oh, right, the review. So, on this saga, we are on Roller Coaster Tycoon 2. Chris Sawyer is still in charge of the franchise, and it's been 3 years since the first game was released. But I remember seeing these games everywhere in stores. I even saw it in an Office Max, which is an office supply store for those of you who are younger than me. Who even buys video games in an Office Max? We did. The gameplay for Roller Coaster Tycoon 2 is basically the same as the first game. Your goal is to build a theme park. Sometimes there are extra peripheral objectives, like
have at least 700 guests in your park, or achieve a park value of at least 100,000 at the end of October year 2.
Later maps had more complicated objectives like
have at least 1,500 guests in your park, but don't let your park rating drop below 700 at any time.
Coupled with your game's goal, you'll have a lot of land with or without existing rides. Some areas are easier to build in than others. For example, I think most people can agree a flatland would be easier to build on than random hills, small ponds, and tons of trees, which need to be demolished before you can construct. This would be a good time to acknowledge that all the footage you will be seeing is from Open RCT2. The Steam overlay doesn't work with Roller Coaster Tycoon 2. I can't even put it into window mode to capture the game. And I'm just going to be lazy today and not troubleshoot, because my solution is we're showing footage from Open RCT2. So honestly, this is less of a review for Roller Coaster Tycoon 2 and more of an endorsement to get Open RCT2. OpenRCT2 has better scaling, window mode, and even other functional mechanical changes, and UI cleaning up, time skipping, and even multiplayer servers. My younger brother set up a local server for us to mess around on. For that, you'll need to remember how to do port forwarding, networking stuff, which I cannot help with in this video. But yeah, totally worth checking out, and in my opinion, it's the best way to play Roller Coaster Tycoon 2. Tycoon 1 can at least be played in window mode, and it irritates me that it can't do that in Tycoon 2. Anyway, keep in mind, OpenRCT2 works as long as you own a copy of Roller Coaster Tycoon 2. If you have the files, it will work. It's not piracy. Settle down. So, what's new in Tycoon 2 that wasn't in Tycoon 1? First, don't worry about the DLC or expansion packs on Steam. They were all included when I picked up my copy. But you should probably be aware, in case you're buying a disc on eBay or something, there were 2 expansions released for Roller Coaster Tycoon 2, Wacky Worlds and Time Twister. You have 15 scenarios for Roller Coaster Tycoon 2, 15 scenarios for the Wacky Worlds expansion, and 14 scenarios for the Time Twister expansion. Roller Coaster Tycoon 2 must have been running a promo with Six Flags because you also have 5 real park scenarios, and lastly 6 extra scenarios. Yet another reason I really love OpenRCT2 Project. When I first booted up the game, I started with the first easy map presented to me, which was Dark Age Robin Hood. Then I played Prehistoric After the Asteroid. Both scenarios felt much more complicated than the beginning levels in Roller Coaster Tycoon 1. Well, lo and behold, I installed OpenRCT2 Project, and I realized those levels are for the Time Twister expansion. So no wonder those levels were harder. When you first load up Roller Coaster Tycoon 2, they just throw all the levels in together under the difficulties Beginner Parks, Challenging Parks, and Expert Parks. And you also have them all unlocked. I don't know if that's supposed to happen, but again, the Open Roller Coaster Tycoon 2 project revamped and reorganized this old game and made it so much more playable for me. I also decided to watch the tutorials because I wanted to be open to learning something new, and this time I did. The first thing I learned is I shouldn't have been using turns on my roller coaster custom designs. I should have been using roll or banking. And now that the tutorial has told me that, I feel exceptionally dumb. And don't be like,
Aw, it's okay, Atratzu. You just didn't know.
I don't deserve sympathy. I've taken flight lessons. I know you should have the G's pulling you down into your seat and not pulling you to the right or the left. All I can say is, I just never thought about the physics in Roller Coaster Tycoon, or the difference between turnings and bankings on roller coaster custom designs. Suffice to say, I've learned something new, and will remember that going forward. I also learned in Roller Coaster Tycoon 2, you can place rides and attractions on a higher or lower tier above or below the ground. Just hold down Shift. I used this a lot on difficult terrain. Just build a few levels above the hills, and then I didn't need to start my ride with a climb immediately. And even some of the easier maps had obnoxious terrain to deal with. Remember, my second game was to build in a literal meteor crater. The ground there sucked. Everything was built over the ground, and the paths were all over the place. Also, setting up decorations is far more customizable too, with a larger variety of decorations and themes. A lot of familiar territory here from Roller Coaster Tycoon 1, but letting you build house and building decorations free up a lot of potentially interesting map customizations and player creations. I'm jaded when it comes to Roller Coaster Tycoon 1, where I don't really care about aesthetic. It's about functionality to beat the scenario. I play the same way in Roller Coaster Tycoon 2, but that's not really the best way to play. I think the attractive thing about Roller Coaster Tycoon games is simply being able to build stuff you want to go on. be it roller coasters or theme parks you'd like to visit in real life. Unless you're some kind of psychopath who gets a power trip for being able to control your guests' every action and read their every thought, and put them on an island by themselves where they need to pay to use the toilet. In conclusion, Roller Coaster Tycoon 2 Triple Thrill Pack is good, and coupled with Open RCT2 Project, it makes the game excellent. I'm not going to go compare the first to the second and figure out just how many new things were added to the game, but the Steam store page says Roller Coaster Tycoon 2 has over 150 new rides and attractions. And I did see new rides, themes, and shops alongside familiar stuff from the first game. There's ample new stuff and scenarios in Roller Coaster Tycoon 2 that I think it would hold the attention of anyone who just finished the first Roller Coaster Tycoon and wanted more of that experience. The game experience feels identical, but with a few changes and more stuff. I don't know if I'll ever get around to buying or playing any of the other Roller Coaster Tycoon games. What I always wanted as a kid was a crossover between Jurassic Park and the Tycoon games. I guess there are Zoo Tycoon games, which offer that type of gameplay, but again, who knows if I'll ever get around to buying and trying out those types of games. Hopefully you found this review entertaining or helpful. If you'd like to help me out, feel free to like, leave a comment, and subscribe. Really, any interaction helps YouTube recognize, oh hey, look! People like his videos. Oh wow! They're actually commenting on it too. This video must be good. Anyway, thanks again. My name is Atratzu. See ya in the next video.